So, it's the day after Halloween, but I missed it. So I guess we can do a spooky video the day after Halloween, I guess. So let's just go.
Hi, Oddings. Welcome to
Hi.
Something Scary. Before we get
Okay.
started, I wanted to remind you that you can now listen to the show as a podcast on Apple Podcasts.
No,
Subscribe and leave
please
us a
don't.
rating by clicking the link in the description below.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Lady Blanca.
Lady Blanca.
The
Isn't
following
that
is
like
inspired
Lady
by a
Black
true
or
story
Lady
from
White
Hazel.
or something? That's kind of racist.
My parents split early in my life when I was around 7 years old.
Oh,
Mom got
that's
to
so
keep the house
sad.
and us along with it.
Aw,
My mom blamed
that's
the
sad.
divorce on my grandma. Grandma was
Lady
from my father's side,
Blanca,
and she
it's
absolutely
rude.
despised us. We had to take her in as she got older, but she was never grateful.
That's a sick beat.
She would claim to feed me and my sister,
Dum-ba-dum-ba-dum,
only to leave us hours
bum-bum.
without food. She was filthy and would make us clean up after her.
Filthy.
Worst
You
of
like
all,
poo-poo
she
on the
constantly
ground?
chided my father for marrying my mom. She would call us worthless, and she would tease me and my
Now
sister
that's
until
just
we
scary
cried.
right there.
Soon,
That's
it was
just
enough for
some,
my mom.
Scary.
Dad
alone.
left, thankfully with Grandma along with him. A few weeks after the
You're
divorce,
welcome,
my sister and I went
Daddy.
to our backyard to play tag. It was a hot summer day, and our neighborhood was known for having stray cats.
Oh.
A couple of them would
I
come
like
by
cats,
and lay
and I
under our
have
house
dogs,
to seek
so,
shade from the
eh.
powerful sun. Today was one of the hottest yet, but for some reason, no cats came to visit us. My sister and I went to the alley where most of the strays live, only to find the cats hissing in the direction of our house.
Oh no.
Me and my sister tried to shrug it off as the weather,
Ryu.
but something stopped my sister dead in her tracks.
Ryu.
She turned to something peeking out behind the dumpster. She pointed in horror and shouted, "Sis, look, look!"
Look.
Oh, the poor thing. I strained my eyes.
What is that? What
It
is
looked like a weird red ball. Then
A
I
ball?
noticed the ears, the nose, and those bloodshot eyes.
Ah!
It was the head of a kitten.
Oh, please stop.
Someone had drilled a piece of bark
No!
straight through its
Stop!
skull.
Stop.
eyes
This is
remained
already too
permanently
scary.
fixed. In a state of terror.
Tricked you.
My sister went to pick it up, but I swatted her hand away, and we ran
Why
straight
would you
back
want
to our
pick
house.
up a dead cat?
There on the porch, it was the rest of the kitten. With dried blood. Head. The chest of the kitten had been opened up, and someone had forcefully replaced its intestines with hot, sizzling stones.
Ew,
We ran,
that's
screaming in
nasty.
fear, knowing that this was not an accident. A couple days go by,
Ew,
and me
Lady
and my sister
Blanca
tried to distract
did
each
this.
other from the gruesome incident by watching TV. We figured it
Yeah.
was some thug's idea
Watch
of a
some
cruel
Netflix
joke,
and forget.
and we were too
Haha,
afraid to
it
get my
doesn't
mom
work.
involved. Something jolted us from our show. A cat's painful cry from the basement. We ran downstairs as fast as we could to find
Zoom, zoom.
another red furry clump, unmoving.
Ah!
This one had its heart pulled out of its
Ooh,
chest,
that's
but those
nasty.
terror-struck eyes from the last kitten were missing. In their place
Please
were
don't
two
show
red
this.
pits.
Please.
I thought the kittens would be the most of my worries.
I'm taking my
At least I
headphones
could
off.
distract myself with sleep, or so I thought.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes I would wake up not being able to move. I was paralyzed, and my sister couldn't help me. In fact, she was gone.
Oh, you're having sleep
her place
paralysis. Wake up.
As a man
Wake up.
with sharp red eyes.
Woo!
He would climb on my chest yelling, "I'll never leave." Eventually, I
Whoa!
place was a man with sharp red eyes. He would climb onto
Is that like a version of Slender Mean? Because that.
my chest yelling,
Because this is
"I'll
scary.
never
Oh! Woo! This is just spooky. Okie dokie. Okay, let's. No. This is scary. Okay, let's move.
Eventually, I'd lose my breath
What was
and then I
that
would
voice?
wake up.
Yay!
The dreams were frequent. I couldn't handle them anymore. I had to tell my mom. I woke up and walked over to her room,
Mama.
but she was
And
crying.
Papa.
She told me she can't find anyone to buy our small house, and no apartment in the area will
This is
accept
more
us.
sad than actual,
She apologized for
scary.
making us feel trapped. I shook my head and tried to reassure her.
How'd you reassure
She
her
asked
when
me
you
why
just
I was up
saw
so late.
Mr. E.
I finally
man?
broke down, explaining the kittens my sister and I found outside, and also about the scary man
Disgusting.
from my dreams. My mom's face changed into a look of concern. This wasn't coincidental.
Why is she mad?
This was the work of black magic. Black magic is when one sells their soul to the devil to inherit the ability
do
to
not
curse
use that
people.
word in English
Mom went
in
into
my
the other
craft
room and called
service.
someone who went by the name of Lady Blanca.
White.
A half hour later,
I'm not sure
a
if it's
woman
white
showed
or
up to our
black,
house.
so
Her
okay.
outfit was strange and a bit creepy, and her
Blanca
fearful
is
expression scared
Spanish.
me even more. If she's the black magic expert, what in her house could possibly be scaring her?
Listen to me carefully. Whatever's in
demons
this
she
house
keeps
can kill
inside.
you.
She walked around the house.
Yeah, I'm taking my
I
headphones
feel
off
the
again.
presence of a demon. He takes the shape of a man with red eyes.
I told her that I always see him in my room during my nightmares.
Please don't. This is
She nodded and ran to my room, yelling.
You must leave this family alone.
on.
She flipped over my bed, shouting.
I see it. I see it.
Confused, we all looked at each other. She then started to jump on my floorboards, yelling.
I need a hammer. Something to lift the boards. Hurry.
My mom ran and gave her a hammer. She banged on the floor until a board popped up.
Bangy,
Inside was a plain white box with Latin written on it. Lady Blanca read the Latin out loud.
Death.
She opened a box and we crowded around to see what was inside. Bundled up in the bottom were the bones of a cat.
These cat bones are a curse. Someone
Oh,
sacrificed this
so
mother and her
sad.
newborn kittens
That's sad.
in order to invite that
Actually
demon
kinda
into
is.
your home. I will take them with me.
Lady Blanca left the house with the box. The next morning, my mother received a call. It was one of the apartment managers she applied to. It seems there was a mix-up with applications. I'm happy to inform you that we're
She
going to
got
take
her
you and your
house.
family in. You can pick up your keys next Monday. I'm
She
very
got her
sorry about the
house.
inconvenience,
Yay,
ma'am.
after the
Lady
Mr.
Blanca called a week after we got situated in our new
Slender
apartment.
Man guy.
Mom put her on speaker
She
so we
got
could
her
hear
house.
that the disposal was a success
good.
and there would be no more demons haunting us. Lady Blanca, how could this have happened in the first place? Who would curse us?
Someone must have lived in that house previously. They must have had a comfortable life, having others take care of them, loading their
I think
issues
it's
onto
the
other people
grandma.
in the house. However, this was not a good person. Whenever they left, they cursed the building to bring bad luck to anyone who lived there.
My mother froze
Grandmama,
and stared
did
at
you
us.
do this?
I shared her look of shock and fear. The last person to leave this house was Grandma.
I knew it. It's her. It's
Do you want more something
Grandmama.
scary? You can listen to the extended version of this episode over at Apple Podcasts.
Well, this video was 7 minutes. So, I don't know. I guess I'll do one more. Let's do, I'm scrolling down, so that's how you see all those weird things. Let's do Indian Horror Story. Whoa! Oh no! Jason! Oh, that's not Jason.
Face more houses
Oh,
than
yeah,
ever and save a
Hi, Oddings. It's your Ate Sapphire. If you want to listen to the extended version of this
That was
episode, the link is in the
Michael
description below.
Hey, I'm Sapphire.
Want
Wanna
to
hear
listen
something
scary?
scary? Okay, so
The Chalva. Our first chapter is inspired by true events that happened to Goroth from India.
who's Goroth?
This happened when I was about 11
Goroth?
years old and lived with my 17-year-old sister Manika and my grandmother.
Okay, so not to offend anybody, but we were doing this thing on like India or something, and we were watching a video, and the guy's real name was Babu. I'm not joking. His name was like really Babu. So, okay, let's go on with the video.
I was sitting at the table eating dinner with my grandma when Manica quickly rushed inside.
Run.
"You're home late," Grandma commented, but Manica didn't respond. Grandma called over to her to join us for dinner, but she just walked right past us and straight to her room.
Zoom.
"Teenagers, so moody," Grandma said. I was pretty close to my sister. We weren't that far apart in age, and we could usually talk about anything. She did have a tendency to be moody, but I could feel that something was different about tonight.
Oh no, she got
So
possessed.
after dinner, I gently knocked on her door and asked if everything was okay. "I just need to be alone right now." I shrugged and headed to my own room, followed by our family dog,
I had no
Snoopy.
idea what she said.
I laid in bed, but was having a hard time falling asleep. I felt really anxious and restless for some reason. I
Don't
didn't
fall
understand
asleep.
why. Hours went by, and I had given up on trying to fall asleep.
Good. Like,
I
go on,
decided
like,
to take
your
Snoopy
phone
out for a
or
3 a.m. walk.
Oh yeah,
The
3
neighborhood was
a.m., everything's
quiet
at 3
and
a.m.
calm. Snoopy was happily sniffing around. Then I heard a rustling from a bush a couple meters
Watch
in
out,
front of
yeah,
us.
guys. Oh.
From the bushes emerged what looked like a mangy black dog. There were a lot of stray in this part of town,
Okay,
so
that is. Whoa, chill there, bud. That escalated that fast.
I wasn't too
Chill out.
surprised and continued forward.
Why
but
would you
Snoopy
walk
wasn't
toward
moving.
it?
I looked down and was shocked to see him low on the ground, sneering.
Low
"It's
on
just
the
a
ground,
dog, Snoop," I said as I yanked on his leash. But Snoopy was not budging.
Wait,
His sneering
Snoopy?
turned into growling.
Guy from,
I looked back towards the stray dog
Peanuts?
and watched as the dark figure stood up, reaching its full height.
Whoa!
At this point, Snoopy was barking
I'm
wildly at the creature. I pulled his leash and ran in the opposite direction. I could hear the booming footsteps of that thing chasing after us.
"Why don't you play with me?"
It asked tauntingly. I refused to turn around or speak to it. My grandmother was a very spiritual person, and she had always told
Run
me
to
to
your
never
grandma.
engage
She'll
with a
get the
spirit that's trying to
Christian
get your
symbol out.
attention.
She'll get the
That's how you
Jesus
invite
cross.
them into your life. So I just kept running, Snoopy
She'll
following
get the
closely
Jesus
by my
cross,
side.
Don't worry.
Luckily, my neighborhood had a lot of temples, almost one every 200 meters. I ran
Okay,
towards one
that's
of them and
good.
slammed the door shut behind me. I waited and
He's right
listened.
there.
The footsteps outside slowed down and came to a halt.
He's gonna be right
I'll come
there.
back for you. I fell to the ground and caught my breath. Snoopy and I
Right
stayed there
there.
until the sun rose. When we got back to our house,
Oh.
my grandmother and sister were already at the dining room table eating breakfast. "I saw something last night. It was this thing. It was chasing us." I
Where
was
were
struggling
you?
to find the words to describe what I saw, but even then, my grandmother knew what it was.
Where were you when this actually
You
happened?
didn't talk to it, did you? No, of course not. But Grandma, what was that?
Well, isn't
It was
Granny?
most likely a chalava. It means illusionist or a shapeshifter. They're created when an unborn child dies and the respected ceremonies aren't performed. And since the child's spirit couldn't take a good earthly form, they inhabit whatever form they can,
Wait.
usually a malicious one.
I
Manica
have a
covered her
question.
mouth. This seemed to really
So those things took the form of something else, right? Where did it get that thing? Where did it get the form that it was in from? Like, was there like something real that was like that, or something? Like, there's something like that tall in India because like the shapeshifter has to take form or something, and that looked like he took form. So is that like something real in India, or? Okay, that face though.
be upsetting her. "Where did you see the chalava?" Grandma asked. "Out
3
by that
a.m.
field where the stray dogs usually are." "Ah, that makes sense."
Ah,
There used to be a hospital over there. It was shut down when they discovered that a doctor was performing unauthorized abortions. Manika burst into tears. What's wrong, Manika? You've been acting so strangely lately.
What?
That Chalva. It's my fault. I'm so sorry, Gorov. Manika ran back to her room. My grandma told me that she was just being moody, but it wasn't until a few years later that I fully understood what had happened that night. Want more something scary? You can listen to the extent.
Your sister sent like a demon after you? And you're not gonna say anything to him? Okay, I guess we got time for one more. Let's see here. The sister had an abortion. Okie dokie. Let's say let's do the show. Let's do the show.
Amendment 3 is written to fool you. It would stop new casinos costing over $200 million in...
Okay,
I didn't see the worried expression when Brandy's mother talked to mine.
Brandy's mother?
Hey, I'm Sapphire.
Okay,
Want to hear something scary?
The first video, Grandma sent the demon at her house, right? And then she said...
Our next chapter is from the No Sleep subreddit, written by username Lana Lona. When I was 9 years old, I had a favorite TV series. It had human actors and actors in animal suits and funny educational clips in between. I don't want to name it because it was a really good show and this story is not at all a fault of the show. I will just call it The M Show. The M Show was running for years and I had been watching it for as long as I can remember. I always sat down straight after school with my older sister Scarlett and my best friend Brandy, who lived next door. It was our ritual. Every day, the three of us sat together and in the breaks of the show, we talked.
You three kids are like spending ritual time with this television show? What? Okie dokie.
And gossiped about all those important issues in our lives.
Why would you?
Then, I remember it was a warm summer Friday. Scarlett found a prize competition in one of her girl magazines. It asked questions about the show, and first prize was a trip with your parents to Disney World. But even better, everybody who sent the correct answers would become a member of the M Show fan club. The same day, after watching the M Show, the three of us huddled together on the couch to answer the quiz. The questions were very hard. They asked details about old episodes of the show. Without Scarlett, Brandy and I would have never managed to answer all the questions. We sent our letters off and every day we would rush to the mailbox to see if our badges had arrived. Winter came and when the first snow began to fall, we stopped checking. Brandy was still passionate about the show and watched it every day, but Scarlett gradually lost interest. When Scarlett stopped watching, I too began to skip the show. It was now early spring. I remember there were tulips in the garden, and my mom reprimanded me for plucking a few to decorate the kitchen table. But right after her lecture, she handed me a small square letter with my name printed on it. The back said, "Welcome to the M Show Fan Club." There wasn't much in the envelope, only a short leaflet that welcomed me to the club and a small ID card with my name on it. Brandy and Scarlett both got their letters the same day. From then on, every Friday, each of us received a leaflet about the show with photos and anecdotes and background information on the characters. Occasionally, the leaflets also called on the club members to promote the show and to watch out for the M Show Tour. Ever since we became members, we didn't miss a single episode. Then, in mid-June, we all got 2 leaflets. The first was the usual one with the facts and photos, but the second was an ad. The tour bus is in town. This is your chance to become an elite member. The bus was coming next Sunday to our town. We were all allowed to go. We were beyond excited. The leaflet didn't have much information. This was before we had a computer at home. The tour bus would arrive at 1 p.m. and the main characters of the show would be there to welcome everybody and play games with us. Those that participated in at least 4 games would be upgraded to elite member status and receive a new golden membership card. Those 9 days of waiting for the M Show tour were some of the longest in my life. Brandy, Scarlett, and I fantasized every day about how it would go. That Sunday, around 12:30, Brandy came running to our house. She knocked on the back door, like she always did, and I let her in. Brandy was beyond excited. Her mom had volunteered to accompany the 3 of us, and she wanted to go early so that we wouldn't miss anything. At 12:45, Scarlett still hadn't shown up at my house. My mom said we should wait for her, but Brandy threw a tantrum. She was scared that she wouldn't be able to hug all the characters if we came late. So Brandy's mom decided to drive. I wanted to go with them, but my mother said that she would drive Scarlett and me. I felt like I was being punished for Scarlett being late. I begged, I cried. Nothing helped. Brandy went alone. Scarlett's parents dropped her off at 1:40. I was mad at her, but my mom said if I made a scene, we wouldn't go at all. I relented. We arrived around 20 minutes later at the big parking lot where the bus was scheduled to stop. We saw the crowds from the distance, parked the car, and walked over. They all held the M Show tour flyers, but it looked as if the crowd were mostly parents. They stood in a half circle towards the edge of the parking lot. Some of them looked concerned, but most of them were laughing and talking. My mom spotted Brandy's mother at the other end of the half circle, so we walked over to her. Brandy's mother was one of the worried ones. She told us that the bus had been there, together with all the animal figures from the M Show. They had a large bus with the M Show logo, and they handed out sweets. One of the animal figures had explained to the parents that they had built a set outside of town where we all could make our own short film with the characters of the show. They said they would drive everybody there. They took the children first. They were all so excited that few parents objected. The next bus was supposed to arrive within a few minutes to bring everyone to the set. When I heard that, I was excited like never before. I ran to the street to look around so I could be the first on the bus. I didn't see the worried expression when Brandy's mother talked to mine. I didn't understand why the police came not even an hour later. In Monday's episode of The M Show, one of the characters came on stage and told us to call our parents to watch the show. Our mom was already sitting with Scarlett and me. The character said that the M Show didn't have a fan club. That week, Brandy's parents cried a lot. I was still sure that Brandy was okay. I thought she just had so much fun that she didn't want to come back. She must have had a lot of fun, because she never came back.
Whoa, yeah.
Brandy's mother cried even more that Friday when the small parcel arrived. There was a new The M Show fan club membership card for Brandy. It was golden and said elite member in big bold letters. The parcel also contained a video. It was only a minute long, a minute of Brandy at the set of the M Show. She was wearing the same dress as when she came over to our house that Sunday morning. In the video, Brandy was smiling. An actor in a big animal suit stood next to her, silently.
Hi, Mom. I really like it here.
Said Brandy.
I really wish you could be here.
Then she laughed.
I'm sorry the others were late. I'm sure they would have loved it too.
Like this video if it gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe to...
I don't like this video because it did give me the chills, but I'll like it anyway. I like this video. Okay, so that's the November 1st Halloween spooky time. Bye-bye.